Hello. What am I intending to do with this video? Nothing useful, nothing productive. I'm intending to have my first pipe since a good long while ago and reflect. Which is what pipes are good at, being a catalyst for that sort of thing. We're going to reflect and talk a bit about spiritual poverty and the era of acute and chronic spiritual poverty that hopefully I've just been delivered from, and how I'm hopefully going to be weaning into some more spiritual health, or spiritual richness, spiritual wealth instead of health, I suppose, in the time to come. Anyway. Oh, this really is delightful. All right. So, what do I mean by spiritual poverty? And what do I mean what do I mean that I think I've just come through the sort of Scylla and Charybdis of spiritual poverty? Well, if you've been keeping up to date with this channel or my life, you'll know that 4 months ago I started BMT. I went through BMT, and then after that I went to a prelim course for my job with the Air Force, and it was really tough. And so during that time I tried to deny myself a lot of pleasures to create a sort of burning momentum in me to make it toward the end of the course. A sort of period of willful fasting from some pleasures like alcohol and smoking, to hopefully, create a lot of momentum and motivation to push me toward completing the course. So now that I'm on the other side of prelim, I'm willing to indulge myself in those sort of things. But that's not the real spiritual poverty. Until making it out to where I'm currently at, near Valparaiso, if that's how you pronounce it, Florida. It's been 4 months since I've really been able to go to a solid church. Now, that's somewhat facetious, somewhat. There was a traditional Protestant service I was able to make it to in BMT that wasn't terrible all the time, but one of the last sermons one of the guys gave was on how Holy Communion, that's the term to which by which he referred to it, Holy Communion, he called, is not set apart for just believers. It's really for anybody. The table is open for anybody, which is funny to me because, what does the word holy mean? What does the word sacred mean? It means set apart. Anyway, he was saying, this Holy Communion, it is not holy in any sense. Also, communion, what are you communing with as a non-believer when you take it? I don't freaking know. Just come and eat some bread. So, yeah, that was the caliber of that church. But they did have hymns in the service, but nobody else really knew any of the hymns. So it was me belting parts and the dude jamming out on the piano keyboard. And then the pastor at the end would be like, wow, we got a powerful voice in the congregation. One powerful voice, as I was like sitting in the back of the church. So yeah, that was not a great church. And then during prelim, I was going to a sort of just evangelical, non-denominational church, and the sermons, dude, I tell you what, the sermons were way better there. Yeah, that guy was preaching through Ecclesiastes, and that prompt also helped me garner some more thoughts for my Proverbs and Ecclesiastes and Song of Solomon video. Anyway, the church there was pretty great, but then again, the singing was not, the music was not great. I would know because for the last couple weeks, I was part of the worship band. But none of these things are really, causative of spiritual poverty. I tell you what though, I've been here in Florida for like coming up on 3 weeks now or something. I got in like Sunday afternoon of one day. I found a CREC church in the vicinity, and dude, I made it. I walked and I found this church, and I went to a psalm sing that they just happened to be having in the Providence of God that evening. And I went to that, and I was able to introduce myself to the pastor and stuff and start to get to know everybody, and they were super welcoming. And they also had food at the psalm sing, and so they were feeding me, and the pastor got my number so he could put me on the church announcements right away, a bunch of different stuff. And this last Sunday, he invited me to his house, and I was able to go there and be there for 5 hours talking with some of the other guys in the congregation. And dude, for the majority of the time, we were talking about music, different forms of like choral music and stuff like that. And I tell you what, it was like beyond refreshing, because despite the church services that I've gone to, in their own different respects not being that bad before, I wasn't part of the church community in any sense, because both of the churches, the one in BMT, obviously you're not supposed to be at BMT for a long while and get invested in the community there. And then tech school, you're also expected to be there for only a short amount of time. So the one I went to while in the prelim course didn't have any sort of sense of community at all. In fact, one of the things they prided themselves on was the fact that the volunteer team was made up of different people every week. So yeah, I've been missing a real church community. And it seems like after 4 months, I'm going to be starting to be integrated back into one. And that delights me. One of the things we were talking about at the pastor's house was the congregation of the church isn't quite ready yet to really nail fuguing tunes, any sort of fugue. It's, just over the edge of their technical ability with parts, singing and harmony and all of that yet. So I think here in the near future, I'm going to have to be talking to the pastor and whatnot, and trying to organize a psalm sing if I can, along the lines of the Beer and Psalms style psalm sing, where I get the songs we're going to sing on Sunday beforehand, and then the way Beer and Psalms does it is they sing the first verse of the song, and then check if people need to freshen up on parts. Then they'll do just each part at a time, breaking it down and singing through it with like the Sing Your Part app or something. And once they've done all the parts, then they go through and do the whole song again. And it's actually like a very solid system for teaching parts to people, because it moves along. It doesn't like luxuriate too long just on one thing, you know, going measure by measure, playing the part and then having the tenor sing it and then doing it with another part. No, they just... Anyway, it's an efficient system, and I'll have to try and introduce it to the boys here. Hopefully start something up there, because come on guys, fugues are glorious. We can't be missing out on the fugues. Yeah. So that's one thing that's contributed to spiritual poverty, is just not having a church community that I've been integrated with for the last 4 months. Nobody who's really been invested in my walk as a Christian. Yeah, something like that. I've also just missed singing anything at all. I've been amusical, basically, since joining the military. And that doesn't strike me as right. Maybe that's because I had whipped myself up into a sort of fever pitch of hyper musicality before I came to the military, and that's why the cravings, the shakes are so bad. Now that I'm deprived of a lot of music, because I tell you what, the year before I came to the military, it was about every single day of the week I had some sort of significant musical thing I was going to and contributing to, if not multiple things per day. In fact, I think it was like half and half of the week. It was like multiple singing things per day, and then the other days it was just like one singing thing. So I was singing probably over 10-12 hours a week, if not more, you know. And so cutting that cold turkey and going to literally nothing over at BMT, unless I wanted to get yelled at by a bunch of sergeants and stuff, which I did. I have some pretty legendary stories that my boys from BMT like to tell people of when they introduce me to people about singing and stuff. Anyway, yeah. So that's hard. Another something I miss quite a lot is dancing. Dancing. Hopefully I'll be able to finagle myself into some family dances with the church here. It sounds like that's something they do. I've been asking around because, oh man, I'm starved. But yeah, that's another thing that I've acutely felt and been able to recognize what I'm missing there. Yeah. So, I don't know why I'm rambling. This is not a productive video at all. But I tell you what, there have been some moments over the past few months where, like, it hit me almost like a panic attack. This sort of sheer spiritual poverty I've been living in. Just the sort of stumbling through a desert land spiritually. these last few months. Yeah, it's weirdly like claustrophobic. You kind of feel like your life is imploding on you. Anyway, maybe this is a bit too personal and I should stop talking. Also, how do you like how I'm holding my pipe right now? But yeah, I should probably remake this video with intent to like educate you guys on spiritual poverty instead of just talking about how I feel about my life. But I told you at the beginning that this was going to be a video more of a reflection than education. So if you've borne with me so far, why click off now? Yeah. It was also just really interesting at the pastor's house, being able to get so deep into a topic and knowing everyone had a sort of shared common ground of values from which to like support the depth of the discussion. Yeah, how do I say this? It's like if at a certain point, if there's too much of a discrepancy in worldview between you and somebody you're having a discussion with, there's only so far into that discussion you can get before you just kind of run into an impasse where it's like, whoa, what the devil do you mean by that? That makes zero sense given the presuppositions from which I'll be looking at this topic. So it was pretty cool to be able to really just talk with abandon about something, not have to like always worry about if I have to hedge my next comment on something with an explanation of, okay, now the reason I believe this is because thus and such and thus and such and thus and such. Yeah, that was delightful and relaxing as well. Kind of makes sense now why people who who come from a place where church and the church community to them is really a Sunday only type of deal would find Moscow so addicting. Like, trust me, I knew Moscow was good. I knew it. I have known it. I've known this for a long time. But it's one thing to kind of psychologically work out, okay, I think I'm taking this aspect and this aspect and this aspect of Moscow for granted. And then it's another thing to be kind of exiled from Moscow and realize the things you've been taking for granted by feeling the sort of rumble in your belly. Yeah, it's one thing to say, oh yeah, I know I need food because otherwise I will be hungry. And so it makes sense that hungry people come to Moscow. And it's one thing to leave Moscow and actually start withering away down to the bone, you know? Anyway. Yeah, I've only been able to touch on a few things here. But obviously the spiritual poverty I felt extends far beyond that. Being sort of alienated from the friends I picked up in Moscow and with which I share a good deal of fraternity, that sort of thing. Also, even the things I have mentioned, the way in which I've lacked them has, like, it goes so much deeper than I'm letting on. It cuts me to the quick. Like, on occasion I've gone back and, like, watched a concert that I was in, and it just sort of rocks me to my core. Like, oh man, you stupid Ginger, why didn't you enjoy that more while you had it? Because, you know, who knows when I'll ever get the opportunity to be in a concert again. To learn complex new music, rich in heritage and rich in glory and praises that it's lifting to God. It's a shame, but hopefully we'll start weaning back into a little less spiritual malnourishment. We'll be able to suckle at the teat of Trinity Presbyterian Church and start gaining a little fat on the emaciated skeleton that we've been so far spiritually. Yeah. Anyway, this is such a pointless video. I should really, if you are still watching, I ought to take up no more of your time. But thanks for sticking around and just listen to me whine and complain about how hard my life is, guys. You don't understand. No, if I wanted to do that, I'd tell you about people's heads getting stepped on while we're getting smoked, people getting their gear kicked, all the different colorful cussy-wussies that have been levied against me in the rucks and different things that we've done in the past couple months. But that's way too interesting for me to put it into this video. You guys are just gonna have to be bored.